Hey guys, you ready for the gridiron? Let's get right into it. First, I like to start off with a quarterback. This is a very easy hole to get an albatross on, if you want to call an albatross easy. I would go with a navigator with 4 top spin and 1 left spin. Depending on wind, obviously, if you got a whole bunch of wind at your back, that might make a pretty big difference. It's a pretty flat course. I'm sure there's some type of elevation, but I don't have the numbers right in front of me. Um, if you want to really play it safe, I'd probably go with a wind ball over the navigator because the less wind you have for your second shot, which will be a sniper, the less you'll have to adjust and the higher opportunity you have of actually getting the albatross. Just remember the second shot appears to be slightly uphill. I like putting a little bit of backspin on the second shot just to keep control of it, and then I just put the ball guide pretty much right up to it. Now here I did not compensate for the fact that it was going uphill, so unfortunately, well, spoiler alert, I don't get it in. However, you can see how close I get, and then we'll move on to hole number 2 right after we take this shot here. So this will be hole 1 of the gridiron, and these are all second tee shots. So, you know, this is pro and expert. And that's a very easy putt for an eagle. This is the easiest eagle hole. Just don't go into the rough off your drive. And with the quarterback, you really shouldn't. Now, the second shot's kind of tricky here. I'm using an extra mile. Now, I should have used a kingmaker here originally. First of all, power 3 would make it so I wouldn't have to overpower it. And then as well as that, I also would be able to use a little bit more right spin, and knocking down the wind is extremely important because we have such a small fairway. Plus we're going to need some curl here. So I don't know why I used a katana, but you can see I'm using a decent amount of right spin. What I'm lacking here though is 2 backspin looks perfect, especially with wind at your back, because that will extend your first bounce. Don't trust your ball guide. Now, if we have wind in our face, then we're going to probably need to put some topspin on. Because I didn't go with any backspin and I had wind at my back, I overshot the hole a little bit, but we are not in the rough. So as you can see, with a skewer or any type of wedge that you're comfortable with, you should be able to knock this in for the eagle. And we'll sit here and see if we can actually get this one to go in. This time I won't spoil it. Unsure of my adjustments. I love having head-on wind, whether it's tailwind or headwind. That way you don't have to adjust side to side. And with the katana and a great shot from that distance, we go around the toilet bowl, down the hole. Very close. All right, so for hole number 3 coming up here, I recommend switching back to the quarterback again. Now look at reference points. I like to go in the neck, the bottleneck area, the bottom of the bottleneck area. I would use a wind ball here as opposed to the navigator that you're seeing. Once again, the less wind you have to deal with, the better. And then I use 2 backspin and make my adjustment 1 to 1. Just make sure that your second bounce doesn't roll you back down. You'll see how my first bounce hits kind of funny, and that's because it's up such a great hill. You're not really playing uphill though. It's just the bounce that's uphill, and then we have an easy putt from there. So moving on to hole 4, I recommend, we got another one of those hook around ones. I recommend an extra mile and either a Titan or a Kingmaker, depending on whether we have wind in our face. Actually, if we have wind in our face, I recommend you go to the right side. But if you have a neutral wind or a wind at your back, a Titan, you can ride that wind, or a Kingmaker if you want more control. I go full top spin and full left spin here with the Titan, and I want to use the full top spin because I want my bounce to I want it to bounce on the first pad of the fairway, hopefully land on the second and skip over to the third. However, not sure that's actually going to happen. So I do overpower it a little bit here. You might want to go with a power 4 ball so you don't have to. And we get the first bounce, we get the second bounce, and we end up in the third bounce in the sand. That's okay. I was actually planning that because I feel that this is a much easier chip shot than if we went on the right side and tried to chip in with a long iron or a short iron. So if you don't make it, it's not a big deal. It would be, obviously, it'd be really nice if you did make this sand shot, but, you know, as long as you don't go off the cliff to the left or to the right, you can reach, no problem. And they do call me Chip. All right, we got a really fun hole, number 5, coming up here. Excuse me. This is a power slice. I would use a power 4 ball. I got the blue marble if you want to use exactly the same one that I used. Full top spin, 4 left spin, and we're going to name near the top of the rough that kind of looks like a figure 8 there. That is your reference point on where you want to bounce. Now you can go to golfclashnotebook.io and they have the power slice, like how many rings you should move over. Because we're all going to be using different clubs and different levels, I don't want to give an exact amount, but I'm putting in the power slice, going full over power, full left hook, and power 4, because look, a power 5 might have taken us a little further into the rough. So power 4 seems to be the sweet spot. Maybe a power 5 will work, but this worked perfectly. And then just make sure you bring a Saturn and a Thorn with you for your second shot. And the trees, last tournament we played, they were in play. And I like the I like the Saturn and the Thorn simply because of all the backspin. So we could just have better control. And we don't have to worry about the ball ending up in the sand or the rough after our approach here. So I do my measurement here really quick. We're at minimum distance. And it's just, well, our opponent forfeited. Okay, well, we would have ended up on the on the putting surface anyway. So he gave us a free ticket there. Now here, hole number 6, I played on the left-hand side. I used a navigator, I believe, but I would use a wind ball. 4 back spin, 2 right spin. I tackled this from the left side. I have my white ring just barely kissing the sand for a reference point, and I do a 1-to-1 adjustment here. And then you'll notice I also do not put any curl on this. You don't need curl because it's the way the contour of the green where you hit is, it's going to push you in that direction. So that's how I play hole number 6, a par 3. Next we have hole number 7 coming up. This is a tricky one. I like going with the extra mile with 3 backspin, a power 3 ball. Unfortunately here I'm using a navigator. Didn't learn my lesson early enough. I like the power 3 because we don't have to, okay, well I used the katana, but I would still go with the power 3, so there's no reason to overpower. And then when you make your adjustment, you're also going to use either 1 ball of left curl, but what I would prefer is just use a kingmaker and go full left spin. I feel like you have better control that way. And then you should be able to land with 3 backspin very safely right in the middle of the fairway. And then your second shot, a backbone with about, if you land where I landed, about 2 backspin would be perfect. I believe I neglected to put spin on because I trusted the ball guide. But with the 7-mile-an-hour wind at my back, again, remember that first bounce that you see the blue line there, it's going to be extended because the wind's pushing it further out. And when I actually played this, I probably feared that if I put backspin on, I would end up in the rough or the sand. That is not the case. And because of that, I'm going to go a little beyond. However, it would be a very simple chip. Not far from the hole at all. So then moving along to hole number 8, I would recommend bringing the sniper. This is one of the easiest par 3s in the game. It's nice to see them bring it back. I think there'll be a lot of aces here. I would go with the sniper and a wind ball. Again, the wind is because the less wind you have, the less adjustment, the better chance you have of actually getting an ace. I use 2 left spin. I'm not going to talk about top spin or back spin because that's wind dependent. But even if you have a lower level sniper, you should still be able to use it. Trust the ball guide. I had the white ring barely touching the sand again, and look how close I get to getting the ace there. So I feel like I had that one locked in last tournament. Hopefully we can do it again this tournament. Now we are down to our final hole, and I would bring again the extra mile or better. If you have an Apocalypse or Thor's Hammer, obviously that's even better. I would once again recommend a Kingmaker. Very reckless when I played this tournament, you know, going kind of cheap with the balls. You don't want to overpower. You'll see how close I get to hitting the rough when I take my shot. I barely make it, and I'm so happy this footage exists because it just shows you have so much more control when you don't overpower. Look right there, that could have been a disaster. Full top spin, 3 right spin, let it roll up to right about there, and that should leave you with a sniper or a backbone shot for your next attempt coming forth. I believe we're at about minimum distance here for our sniper. I can't read that, it's so small. I don't know if we have an 8 or a 9. Once again, I just go ahead and put some backspin on. One thing I kind of wish I would have done, okay, there I go. Full right spin, and then you can adjust further away from the rough. So if you hit it great, you're not going to be punished or anything. I'm trusting the ball guide here, which doesn't always work out. And also, because I'm at minimum distance, I can't take the shot the way I want to take the shot. I kind of wish I would have went with, oh, I did. Okay. There you see, I went with the Saturn instead. And hopefully I remembered not to put all that backspin on, and that is a very manageable putt from right there. So this has been a preliminary tournament guide. Again, we don't know what direction the wind is heading in. We don't know a lot, but this kind of gets your toes wet with knowing what's coming forth. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button and the bell notification, and we will see you on the greens. Take care.